The wilderness had a silence all its own. A dry, restless wind stirred through the tents, lifting dust and memories alike. It had been 40 years since Egypt, and still the people of Israel wandered. But this is not the story of Moses, nor the priests, nor the warriors. This is the story of 5 sisters, 5 hearts, 5 voices, 5 flames that refused to flicker out in the wind. Their names were whispered in the shadows of grief: Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, Tirzah, daughters of Zelophehad, of the tribe of Manasseh, daughters of a man now gone, buried in the sand, remembered only by those who loved him. Their father's tent stood still, quiet, empty. But his name still echoed in their hearts. He wasn't perfect. He hadn't rebelled with Korah. Numbers chapter 27, verse 3. He had simply lived, walked, trusted, and like so many others, he died before reaching the land God had promised. And now, there was a problem, one that stirred beneath their grief like a growing flame. Zelophehad had no sons, and that meant no inheritance, no land, no future. His name would disappear from the records, and his daughters? Forgotten, unless someone did something, unless someone spoke. One morning, as the camp stirred and the dust warmed under the sun, 5 sisters stood together. Their hands were trembling, yes, but they held each other, not just with arms, but with faith. They walked past rows of tents, past the murmurs of curious eyes, past men who stepped aside and whispered. They walked toward the center, toward Moses, toward Eleazar the priest, toward the elders, toward the tent of meeting, toward the place where justice was decided. And there they stopped. And Mahlah, her voice steady like a river under pressure, spoke. Numbers chapter 27, verse 3 to 4. Our father died in the wilderness, and he had no sons. Why should his name be removed from his clan? Give us property among our father's relatives. And there, the camp froze. The air was thick with shock. A woman speaking like this, 5 of them, before the leaders, before all the people. But they did not cower. They stood in the full weight of truth. Lesson 1. God sees the ones the world forgets. These daughters were not generals, not prophets, but heaven saw them. When the world had no room for their voice, God leaned in, and so did Moses. The great leader of Israel didn't dismiss them. He didn't answer them from his own wisdom. Instead, Numbers chapter 27, verse 5 tells us, Moses brought their case before the Lord. He knew this was holy ground, and in that sacred stillness, the Lord spoke. Numbers chapter 27, verse 6 to 7. The daughters of Zelophehad are right. Oh, can you imagine it? Can you feel it? The God of the heavens declaring them right. Their voice heard, their plea honored, their courage rewarded. Lesson 2. Boldness rooted in truth can change everything. These sisters didn't shout. They didn't demand. They simply stepped forward with trembling strength and unwavering truth. And heaven responded. But this was more than just a ruling for them. Numbers chapter 27, verse 8 to 11. God gave a new command. If a man dies and has no son, give his inheritance to his daughter. A new law, a new path, a new future for every daughter in Israel who would come after them, because 5 sisters had dared to speak. Lesson 3. When you stand for justice, it never stops with you. Their voices lifted not just their own family, they lifted generations. Their courage cracked open a wall that had stood too long. And don't miss this. God didn't just permit the change. He commanded it. Lesson 4. God is not bound by broken systems. He rewrites them. In a time when the culture had limits, God had liberty. Where the people said no, God said, "They are right." He honored their faith, their grief, their voice. Long after that day, long after the promised land had been entered, long after Moses had died and the wilderness was behind them, their names were still spoken. Joshua chapter 17, verse 3-4 tells us that these 5 daughters went again, this time to Eleazar and Joshua, and they received their inheritance in the land of Canaan, just as God had promised. The law stood, the land was given, the story was sealed. Lesson 5. God finishes what he starts when we walk in faith. The daughters didn't just speak once. They walked through the entire journey. They held on to the promise until it became reality. And so we remember them, not because they were loud, but because they were brave, because they believed in the justice of God enough to ask for it, because they trusted that he would be their defender, and he was. So now, when the world says your voice is too small, when your heart feels overlooked, when justice seems far away, remember Mahla, remember Noah, remember Hogla, remember Milcah, remember Tirzah, the daughters who dared to speak, and the God who said, "They are right." You don't have to be powerful to change the world. You just have to be faithful, even when your voice shakes, even when the law feels against you, even when the world does not expect you to rise. God sees, God hears, God honors justice.